Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Well, good morning and welcome to our Sunday gathering. We're all online today due to the current restrictions of lockdown. We've taken the decision not to gather physically at church to help protect lives and to protect the NHS. And instead, we're taking the advantage of our ability to still meet using technology. It's great to have you with us, and after the service today we have got an online Zoom coffee morning where we can catch up with one another. You'll find the link in your scattered Sundays, so do join us after the service with your cup of coffee in hand and your favourite biscuit if you're watching this at the 10 a.m. premiere on YouTube. You'll get to see how everybody's doing, say hello perhaps to friends who you haven't seen for a while. Psalm 145, 8-9 tells us that the Lord is gracious and compassionate. He is slow to anger and rich in love. The Lord is good to all. He has compassion on all that he has made. Let's sing together.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. Age to age he stands, and time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. Name above all names, worthy of all praise. My heart will sing, how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God.
So we're taking part in the community Bible experience, and over the next 4 months we're going to get stuck into the books at the beginning of the Old Testament. So that's Genesis, and we'll go through to Samuel and Kings. Right at the beginning of Genesis, once out of the Garden of Eden, we begin to read some pretty disturbing stuff and some really strange stuff too, some of it hard to understand. But as one person said on the CBE WhatsApp chat this week, instead of getting caught up in the detail, I'll try and find what God is saying to me. I think that's a great way to read each bit of the Bible daily. Pray beforehand and ask God to speak directly to you and your situation. And then on Sundays we'll have the chance to dig a little bit deeper into the readings, the history, the theology, drawing from the themes that have cropped up in the week. And this week, one of the things that cropped up quite a lot was Genesis 6:4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children with them, they were the heroes of old, men of renown. I think that we all agree that this is an incredibly confusing passage. It seems sort of mythical, sort of like something that you would read in a book. We know almost nothing about the Nephilim. Who were these people and why were they important in the surrounding narrative of Genesis? Before we attempt to answer that, let's take a look at the broader context as James reads Genesis 6:1-4.
When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown."
Thanks, James. As Daisy says, it all sounds so strange, a bit like a Doctor Who episode. I think we need to break it down. So we're going to have a little think about the Nephilim, the sons of God, what this strange suggestion about them being present but then completely wiped out in the flood, but then appearing on earth afterwards means. So we need to break this down, as I say. So first we're going to start with, who are the sons of God? Well, I'd like to suggest that there are 3 possible ways that we can think about their identity. The first is that the sons of God were fallen angelic beings, or that the sons of God were the men in the line of Seth and the daughters of humans were women in the line of Cain, or that the sons of God were in fact men of this tyrannical dynasty of Lamech. So let's take a look at each of those ideas in turn. So the first one is that they are fallen angelic beings. This idea in part is based on the use of the term sons of God for angelic beings found later on in the Bible, in the book of Psalms and in the story of Job. And then the contrast between the sons of God and the daughters of humans that makes it seem as if the former may not be human at all. This view has been combined with the thought that the Nephilim, they were giants. And the logic behind that is that children of angelic and human relations could be physically large in size, something which we will come back to in a little while. The second view then is not that they were angelic beings, but they were instead sons of God who were men from the line of Seth. Okay, so this idea is based on 2 genealogies, the genealogy of Cain and the genealogy of Seth, whose stories immediately preceded the passage which we're exploring. So to recap their story, we know Adam and Eve had 3 sons plus other sons and daughters. No sons and daughters, the other ones, they're not mentioned by name. But the 3 that are mentioned by name, sons of Adam and Eve, are Cain and Abel and Seth. Okay, now Cain, he murdered Abel, and thus it was the descendants of Cain who were known to be wicked and whom God wiped from the earth in the great flood, saving only the descendants of Seth, That was Noah and his family on the ark. There were just 8 people in the line of Seth when the flood happened. So there's this group of wicked people. These are the descendants of Cain, the murdering brother. And there's this group of good people, the descendants of Seth, who are inhabiting the earth. So with regards to the Nephilim, these giant people in Genesis, the thread goes like this. Adam was made in the likeness of God, and Seth, therefore, is also in Adam's likeness. So Sethites, the descendants of Seth, can be considered sons of God in that sense. So these 2 human lineages, one more wicked, fallen humanity and one more godly, they intermarried and the whole thing became corrupt. And that's where the Nephilim come from. Which brings us to the third suggestion, which is that the sons of God are not descendants of good Seth, but are in fact descendants of wicked Cain. And they are the men who went on to actually form a tyrannical dynasty. And the celestial God-type language which we heard James reading describing them actually was often used by ancient peoples with regards to royalty and rulers. So if you think like Caesar and the Roman Empire, where Caesar declared himself God. The description of their offspring as heroes of old, persons of name, could describe therefore their military or political dominance over the peoples. Plus we know that ancient rulers had great harems and they had many, many wives. So these rulers in this dynasty, in this tyrannical dynasty, the dependents of Cain, these sons of God, they intermarried with all of these daughters of humans, those who weren't royal. So we got 3 examples there of who they may be. And quite frankly, it's hard to conclude who the sons of God were in any of these 3 ideas, whether they were fallen angels, descendants of Seth, or descendants of Cain. They're all plausible. But what is clear is just like humanity, they had fallen, they had made mistakes, and the Nephilim had made wrong choices. So what about the Nephilim? Well, the word Nephilim is a Hebrew word. The translators of the original Hebrew Bible, they used the Greek word which meant giants to translate Nephilim. There's perhaps a couple of reasons why they did this, but one of these is the account of the Nephilim, which is found in the book of Numbers. So this is after the Great Flood, and this is when the spies went to the land of Canaan, and they came back to report what they had seen. And they'd seen Canaanites. Now Canaanites are people who are known to be a really tall race. And they called these people that they had seen, they described them as Nephilim. Now Nephilim, rather than meaning giant, actually is more like, if you translated it to English, it's more like fallen one or fallen ones. And this to me seems to capture something of the spirit of the passage in Genesis prior to the Great Flood. And finally, we have this phrase, and also afterwards. As the Nephilim were all wiped out in the Great Flood, how were they around afterwards? Well, of course, if they are part angelic beings, the pattern which we read about in Genesis this week could easily be repeated after the flood. But perhaps Nephilim became synonymous with people of exaggerated size or with people of great wickedness, which is what I would suggest happened in the Numbers 13 passage. So you've got the spies, their adrenaline is pumping, and they use a little bit of hyperbole because they saw in those Canaan people huge stature and they were in dreadful fear of them. And they reported back that they had seen Nephilim. A bit like when we might describe somebody as a Barnabas, because they have the nature and the character of Barnabas the encourager. Or maybe call somebody a Dr. Dolittle, because they love animals. In that sense, we might still see Nephilim today. There are lots of unknowns in this short passage, but whoever the Nephilim were, whoever the sons of God and the daughters of humans were, the significance of the situation is clear enough. The wickedness of humankind had escalated to such a level that God was grieved that he had made humankind, and he needed to cleanse creation. And yet there was Noah's family. Despite the wickedness surrounding him, Noah does not allow the situation to mar his vision. Of the two trees that we talked about last week, Noah chose the tree of life. He habitually and faithfully keeps his eyes fixed on God, his footsteps alongside God, walking with him. Through Noah's faithfulness, God is able to work with him, to implement this plan to rescue his creation. In these difficult times we find ourselves in, I wonder how closely are we walking with the Father? Are we so close to God that we could say, Lord, I am here, if he chooses to favour us and partner with us? Would we be in the right place to experience the grace of God's rescue plan through our contribution where we each live? Can we follow the example of Noah and not the example of the Nephilim?
Thou my best thought, by
So there we have it, a little bit of thinking about those giant Nephilim and what it might mean for us today. It's been great to have you with us, and remember, if you're watching this on the YouTube premiere at 10 a.m, then now's the time to hop over to Zoom and join us for a cup of coffee after church. We'd love to chat with you and say hello. The link is in your Scattered Sundays. It's an opportunity to catch up with your friends that maybe you haven't seen for a while, so do join us with your cup of tea and a biscuit. For the rest of you, have a great week. God bless you, and we will see you soon. Stay safe and stay at home.